So today, we're going to dive into the story of a psychoanalyst who basically took on the giants of her field to forge a whole new understanding of the human mind. We're talking about Karen Horney, a true rebel who dared to question, well, pretty much everything. To kick things off, let's look at something kinda wild. This is a parallel between Karen Horney and another pioneer of psychoanalysis, Melanie Klein. It's almost uncanny how similar their early lives were. I mean, look at this. Both born in the 1880s, both the youngest child in the family, and, this is the big one, both grew up with this deep-seated feeling of being unwanted and unloved. Now, Klein always wanted to be a physician but never made it, while Horney actually did. But their stories start from almost the exact same blueprint of struggle. To really get why she became such a rebel, you gotta go back to the beginning. Her intellectual defiance didn't just pop up in a university classroom. Nope, it was forged in a really unhappy home, where those seeds of rebellion were planted very, very early. So Horney was born into this really tense family situation. Her father was the stern, super religious sea captain, almost 2 decades older than her mother, and honestly, she thought he was a total hypocrite. She adored her mother, but the whole family was just filled with bitterness. And to top it off, she felt like a total outsider, always watching her older brother get all the attention and praise that she never did. And that feeling, right there, unwanted and unloved. It's simple, but it's so powerful. That became the absolute core of her childhood. And it didn't just shape her youth, it really became this central question she would spend her whole life trying to answer. But here's the thing that's just incredible, right? All that internal struggle, it just fueled this insane ambition. Think about it. At 13, she decides she's going to be a doctor, even though that was a door completely shut to women in Germany back then. She went against her father's wishes to get into a prep school, and by 1906, she was one of the very first women in the entire country studying medicine. She just took every single barrier in her way and knocked it down, one by one. Okay, so you might be thinking she started out as this firebrand rebel from day one, but that's not really how it went down. Her journey actually began by diving headfirst into the biggest game in town, Sigmund Freud's psychoanalysis. And I mean, she went all in. She wasn't just on the fringes, she was a true insider. The guy she went to for analysis, Carl Abraham, was part of Freud's inner circle, a total believer in the orthodox Freudian theory. For years, Horney learned the whole system from the inside. And her early work? It was pretty much by-the-book Freudian stuff. You'd have no clue she was about to become this major independent thinker. But, as she saw more and more patients and got more real-world experience, the cracks started to show. Her own observations just weren't lining up with the rigid Freudian theories. And this all led to the major turning point of her career, a direct, head-on challenge to the ideas of Sigmund Freud himself. And this slide, right here, this gets to the absolute heart of the conflict. Freud's whole thing was anatomy is destiny. Basically, your biology, your instincts, that's what makes you who you are. The differences between men and women, innate, biological. But Horney came back with this revolutionary idea, no, it's culture that's destiny. It's our society, our social roles, our relationships. That's what truly shapes our minds. So in 1939, she publishes this book, and it was basically her declaration of independence. She wasn't just suggesting little tweaks. She was calling for them to throw out the entire instinct theory, which, is the core of Freudianism. You can imagine the shockwaves this sent through the psychoanalytic world. She instantly became the leader of the opposition. So what happens when you challenge the establishment like that? Well, they push you out. She was forced out of the New York Psychoanalytic Institute. But did Horney retreat? Did she give up? Nope. She did the exact opposite. She started building. And look, her rebellion wasn't just in books and papers. It was real. It was institutional. So in 41, she resigns because she refuses to bow to their dogma. But what does she do? She immediately helps start a rival organization. And over time, that group evolves, and it's eventually renamed in her honor, the Karen Horney Psychoanalytic Institute. And then she opens a clinic with her name on it. She turned an act of defiance into a lasting legacy. But her most significant act of creation, the thing that pulled all her independent thought together, that came in one key year. And that's when she publishes her masterwork, Neurosis and Human Growth. And this was different. This wasn't just a response to Freud anymore. This was her own powerful, creative, fully formed vision. She explored how our search for a glorious, idealized self can lead to what she famously called the tyranny of the shoulds. It was the theory she had been building toward her entire life. Okay, so after all that, why are we still talking about her today? After this whole incredible journey, what's the big takeaway? Why does her rebellion still matter to you and me? Well, her legacy is just one of incredible courage, right? She was the one who stood up and said, hey, maybe biology isn't destiny. She forced everyone to look at how much our culture, our society, actually shapes us. She also championed this idea of self-analysis, the idea that we can understand ourselves. But maybe most importantly, she proved that one person, one voice, could stand up to an entire established way of thinking and build something new from scratch. So I want to leave you with this thought. Horney's story is just amazing proof of how powerful one dissenting voice can be. And it really makes you wonder, what are the unquestionable ideas of our time that are just waiting for their own rebel?